Michael Cleary is one of sport's most notable high achievers, representing Australia in 3 different sports: rugby union, league, athletics. And on his 80th birthday, we talked through a moment that brought all of those disciplines together. It was the moment Michael Cleary became football's fastest man. Birchgrove Oval, the birthplace of club rugby league. 112 years ago, the first ever club game was played here between South Sydney and North Sydney. The final scoreline, 11 points to 7, the Bunnies were too good. So much has changed in the game of rugby league over more than a century. But there is one thing that does remain: the impact of speed.
It's on Jefferson! Moses away! Hoffman in support! Cover is coming! Moses is going to get there! Mitchell Moses!
Wow. Here goes Cook, slithered through, swerves, inside 20, 10 to go. Away he goes, Damien Cook!
To Joe Allen, pass, question mark baby, and O'Carr is away! The Fox flies past Jefferson, turns them inside out, goes past and he still scored!
For as long as the game has existed, the quest to find the fastest footballer has been a topic of conversation and debate for many years. Well, in 1964, that debate was settled.
International footballers Michael Cleary and Ken Irvine were the stars in an international challenge race run between greyhound events at the New South Wales National Coursing Association's Wentworth Park on the 28th of March 1964. The 1,000-pound challenge race was run over 100 yards on a specially prepared track set out in the oval. Michael Cleary racing in the red and green of South Sydney, Ken Irvine in North Sydney's red and black. The race went to former Empire Game sprinter Michael Cleary, winning by a yard in a thrilling finish. It was then that New South Wales NCA committeeman Doug Phillips introduced Mr. Bill Buckley, President of the New South Wales Rugby League and Chairman of the Australian Rugby League Control Board. The task of making the presentations fell to Mr. Buckley. £750 to the winner, Michael Cleary, £250 to the runner-up, Ken Irvine, presented by the New South Wales National Coursing Association. The trophies were donated by the South Sydney Junior Leagues Club. It was Cleary's first professional start, and on a spongy track he ran 100 yards in 9.7 seconds. Ken Irvine is the former Australian professional sprint champion. Previously recognised as the fastest footballer in the world, Irvine was not able to head Cleary in the race, and the winner was too good in a tight finish. The special match race attracted an above-average crowd of 10,000 at Wentworth Park. An added attraction: professional running during greyhound racing at Wentworth Park in Sydney.
Well, joining me now is the winner of that race and 3-time international representative for Australia in rugby union, rugby league and athletics, and, well, arguably the fastest ever footballer in Michael Cleary. And on a special day, happy birthday.
80 years today, yes.
How do you feel?
Well, I feel great. I feel great, terrific actually. It's bad luck we can't do anything, but it's nice to be able to celebrate it with you, Matt.
Well, you look fantastic. Take us through that race in 1964. How did it all come about?
Well, it came about by a mate of mine called Doug Phillips, who was on the National Coursing Association, which was Wentworth Park, on the committee. And he's also worked for a firm called Sweetex Suits. My father was in the rag trade, and I got to know Doug fairly well. And Doug said to me one day, would you race Ken Irvine? I said, well, I don't know. Yes, all right. He said, at Wentworth Park. I said, okay. He said, we'll give you £1,000, which is $2,000. That's big money. So I said to Kenny, do you want to race? He said, yes. So I said, well, 500 each. He said, okay. So we went away to England in '63, and then Eddie Waring, who was the director of sport over in England and also covering the rugby league, said, we have a match race with you and Kenny. I said, no. I said, we've got £1,000 at home. He said, well, what if we race a car? I said, oh, okay, we'll do that. And he took us to the White City, with the dog track at the White City, actually. And we got on our mark. There was a hard track, and he used to drive a Jaguar, but they put him in a Vauxhall Velox manual. And he couldn't drive. He was hopeless. All I could hear were the gear changes rattling. So we took off. I think Kenny did a 6.5 or something. I did a 6.4. And we didn't race each other, but we raced the car. And that happened over there. But when we came back to Sydney in '64 was when the big race was organised at Wentworth Park. You know, they got 12,000 people at that race. They usually used to get about 4,000 at the Dogs. Now they get about 700 or 800. But it was a fabulous day.
Michael Cleary inhabits rare air when it comes to sporting status in Australia. One of only 4 men to wear the green and gold in 3 different sports. A 3rd place at the 1962 Empire Games, a highlight in a sparkling career. But it was a bronze medal moment that almost didn't happen.
Up on the nameplate, they put Gary Holsworth from Victoria as 3rd. Now, Gary knew I'd beat him because we were sitting on the ground taking our spikes off, and he said, "Well done, you've done well." And then his name went up, and I said, "Oh, well, there was nothing." And it wasn't until I went on television the next day with Urs Sarati and Herb Elliott, and a mate of mine I went to school with, Tony Maggan, a light heavyweight boxing champion, and they played the race, and it was pretty obvious that they'd given it to the wrong person. And the funny part about it, I was in the dining room with Linda McGill and Dawn Fraser and again Tony Madigan having a roast lamb dinner in the canteen. And in walked Arthur Tunstall and the president of the Athletic Association, and they said, "Here's your medal. Thanks for being a good sport." I said, "That's okay. We didn't kick up a stink in those days. You copped it on your chin."
A bout of glandular fever cruelled Cleary's Olympic ambition. A chance to compete at the 1960 Rome Games evaporated. From the mist, a new mission. Footy. First union with Randwick in Australia. Then rugby league.
Picked up by Cleary. This could be it. Cleary sets off for the line. He's got 10 up chasing him. They won't catch him. Mike Cleary is in for a try for South Sydney. Oh, beautiful move. A lucky one, granted, but still, he was there to pick it up cleanly.
And 3 premierships with the South Sydney Rabbitohs.
Some fabulous times. They're the best team of fellas I've ever met. Best team. I had the best time at South.
Relationships formed at a club that was underpinned by pride, not money.
I played for nothing and enjoyed it. And that was, to me, that was a funny thing. I came from Waverley College, Christian Brothers, lived at Dover Heights, private school, to Redfern Oval.
Combined with athletics training and an innate natural talent, Cleary's speed served him well out on the footy field, but it wasn't always a sure thing.
I remember I got set up one day by a reporter who asked me, he said, "Why don't you ask the club if you can mark Ken Irvine?" I said, "Yeah, all right, I'll do that." So we got the story. Cleary's going to mark Irvine. And he also had the story for the following day, because the story headlines the next day were Irvine smacked Cleary's bum. He got about 3 tries against me, and he walked into the dressing room at the Sydney Cricket Ground after that game. I said, "You rotten so-and-so, you set me up." And he did, but he was a lovely fella, Kenny. He's a great fella.
To this day, Ken Irvine remains the NRL's leading try scorer, with 212 from 236 matches. A feat that doesn't surprise his old 1960s rival.
He could score from anyone. Great little fellow. I went to his funeral too, little Kenny. Great memories, you can't buy them these days.
But on that day, back in 1964, Mike Cleary had Ken Irvine's measure.
I was pretty quick out of the blocks for a bloke who was 6'1".
56 years on from that foot race at the dog track in Sydney, pace remains a valuable commodity out on the footy field.
Electrifying runs. I did a few of those. I wasn't too good in defence, but in any case, I was good at running, I know that. And when I got my tail up, they weren't going to catch me.
So good to catch up with you, and you have so many stories to tell and such successes to celebrate as well. And happy birthday, 80 years, an amazing milestone.
It's been great, hasn't it? What a great life. 80 years. When I look back, I never planned anything. It just all happened. The door's open, but you had to have a bit of ability to keep the door open, didn't you?
Great athlete and a great character as well. Special thank you to Graham McNeese for giving us access to the amazing archive footage that we used in that story. Well, stay with us here on Fox Sports News. We'll recap all of last night's Supercars E-Series action with 7-time Bathurst 1000 winner in Craig Lowndes.